Our second award is our Young Alumni Award. So each year we give out an award recognizing someone early in their career who's graduated from one of our degree programs, who, even though they are young in their career, has already had a tremendous impact, perhaps in their profession, but broadly in public service. This year's award winner has clearly met the threshold. Somebody at a very early stage in their career has just been incredibly impactful, not just in starting their own organization, as you're going to hear, but starting an organization that's really had a global impact. This year's winner is Kwame Christian, who's a 2013 graduate of our dual MA-JD program, our partnership with the Moritz College of Law. And the Moritz College of Law has an exceptional reputation in alternative dispute resolution and conflict negotiation. And Kwame, who graduated less than a decade ago, has parlayed that experience and that education into something called the American Negotiation Institute, which services a broad array of clients, including those in the public sector, in tackling difficult and challenging issues, and using negotiation as a tool and a technique for resolving dispute, but also just growing the organization and the enterprise. Kwame's organization has been active in almost 200 countries around the globe, servicing a broad array of clients. Kwame is also the host of a highly subscribed podcast on negotiation, one that we hope many of you will start to listen to after this. After you hear from him, I'm sure you'll be hooked. But that podcast, in some instances, has been downloaded over 150,000 times, a very popular podcast on negotiation. So I'm so pleased and privileged, wish I was doing it in person, but to award this year's Young Alumni Award to Kwame Christian. Congratulations, Kwame.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Trevor. Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining me. And Kwame is going to join me in a bit of a conversation about himself and his organization. So Kwame, you pursued both the JD and the MA out of the what was then the School of Public Policy and Management, now the Glenn School, and then ultimately the Glenn College. What inspired you to pursue this partner degree and ultimately go into public service?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I feel like as much as I want to take credit for it, a lot of it has to come from my family too. And so I was always interested in government and policy and politics. And so I wanted to have an impact on a larger scale using that type of expertise. And so in my family, when you think about my mom's side and my dad's side, we have on my mom's side, my grandfather, Oscar Henry, was the first permanent secretary of the country of Guyana. So the year when they got their independence, when they achieved their independence, he was the first permanent secretary, which is more or less Secretary of State for the country. And then on my dad's side, the family's always been involved in politics. My great uncle wrote the score of the national anthem for the country of Dominica. And so we have a long history of involvement in governmental activities. And so I think that's really what motivated me to create this organization and try to stay involved however I could as it relates to politics and policy in the US.
So thank you for sharing that. I'm so impressed by your family's history. Can I also assume then that your parents and grandparents' involvement in the various ways that you just described also explains the sort of global orientation of the American Negotiation Institute? So even though it is the American Negotiation Institute, your orientation is global.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's one of the fun things about the podcast, because the podcast has been heard in over 180 countries, close to 2 million downloads now, and it's been great to see the reach. And so one of our interns is actually in Nigeria, and she created this program for youths between the age of 15 and 20, learning how to use negotiation and conflict resolution as a peace building tool. Because right now there's a lot of unrest going on in Nigeria, so we gave her the all of the information that she needed to and the guidance and the mentorship she needed to produced that program, and she did an incredible job. So we're looking for different ways to have more of a global impact. That's our African reach. And then also back home in Guyana, there was a lot of political unrest recently, and so we're trying to find ways to partner with organizations like CARICOM, which is the Caribbean community, trying to find ways to partner with them to promote peace through negotiation and conflict resolution as well.
So you've begun to explain a little bit about ANI, but tell us about that journey. How did you decide to start this organization? Again, you've done this at a very early stage of your career. And then tell us a little bit more about it, what its founding purpose is, who are the clients that you serve, and what are the services that you provide?
Yeah, and so I wanted to build an organization that I wish existed. And so that's really what led me to do it. And so as an attorney, I did some civil rights work beforehand, and then I started my own practice doing business law. And now with the American Negotiation Institute, our motto is this: the best things in life are on the other side of difficult conversations.
Mhm.
So with what we do, our hope is to help to make these difficult conversations easier. And with that focus, obviously there's a clear business focus. We have some large Fortune 500 companies that under our belt who are our clients, who help us, who we help with negotiation and conflict resolution types of trainings. We've also worked with different branches of the government, like the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration for their negotiations, and the Army Defense Acquisition University. They purchase all of the weapon systems for the United States, working with their negotiations too. But also recognizing with that broad type of mandate that we have, making these difficult conversations easier, it's also led us into some exciting different places that aren't so business driven. So how to have difficult conversations about race, that's been something that we've been doing, programs we've been doing here in the US, because that's been a unique struggle of 2020. More recently, we've partnered with LinkedIn to produce a course on how to have difficult conversations about politics now, because things are very divisive and it's kind of tearing people apart in the workplace. And so we were creating content to help them with that. And so it's been really fun to see the global impact, because the reality is we all struggle with this in some capacity. We all are having these difficult conversations. And so I'm able to take the tools that I learned from the Glenn College and from the Ohio State Moritz College of Law, put those together and share it with the world. And it's been really impactful.
So to pull this to a close, we have a lot of people who will look to you as a role model, somebody who, once again, early on has already made an impact, didn't have to stand in line, got to do something right away after finishing their degree. And I don't mean to diminish, I'm sure, all the hard work that went into it, but it's a remarkable accomplishment early on. What advice do you have to somebody who may be in the same shoes you were a decade ago, an undergraduate at Ohio State, or someone navigating the graduate degree program? What advice and guidance do you have for somebody who wants to go out and make an impact early?
I think it's this. You have to be true to yourself. And I know that seems so lame, but let me go a little bit deeper into that. Because I was the guy who was graduating from law school after passing the bar and graduating from the Glenn College. And I was getting sworn in, and I was asking myself, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Mhm.
It still wasn't clear on it. And so the focusing question that I used that really helped me was, what would I do if everything in the world was free? What
Hmm.
would I do if everything in the world was free? After I've traveled and did all that fun stuff, what would I do for meaning? And so it took me a long time to figure that out. I mean, over a month of introspection, trying to figure out what that answer was for me. And as much as I loved resolving conflict myself as a mediator, as a lawyer, negotiating, I recognized that I loved teaching it even more. Because,
Mhm.
like I said, Trevor, I'm a recovering people pleaser. I was that guy who was a pushover. And then negotiation helped me to overcome that. And that's when I came up with that motto: the best things in life are on the other side of difficult conversations. So for me, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to teach that. And so once I figured out what that was for me, I said, I'm going to push everything else to the side and make that happen.
Well, it is a pleasure to formally award you the Young Alumni Award, and we will do this in person one day where we give you the physical award that you can proudly display on your shelf with your multiple degrees from The Ohio State University. So
Thank you.
congratulations, Kwame.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.